All right, so our demo here is saying that when we get into this warning space, we're going to separate this out, that we're going to have the warning space. Let's create another one. Adjust. Let's just call it move. So we can say when the move is called, we can change the cat's placement. So the cat starts here. Well, let's take the cat and move it a little bit. So let's take the cat and move it from where it currently is and just add one. I'm sorry, let's do the Y. I copied it. I did X there. So, oops. Sorry, not self.parent. Cat. Yeah. So let's take the cat wherever it is. I'm sorry, not the cat. We can't move the cat because if we move the cat alone, it's not. We need the whole buffer. The buffer is what we placed inside of there. We need to take the buffer and get its Y location. So its Y location is going to be uh, Y location plus one. We're going to move it down. And so let's take the top buffer and we're going to add in a second binding for the move. I think this is fine. I believe this works. Let's just check it out. Oh, look, it moved, but it kind of moved funny. It moved one and it didn't move everything. It just moved this down a little bit. And it moved in the X location too. Let me check this out here real quick. Um, so let's say X is equal to its current X location and Y is equal to, oops, the Y location plus one. So let's try that out. Okay, so it did move down a little bit, but didn't move the buffer down a little bit. Oh, they got the warning there. So it's kind of doing what we want to, but not exactly. Um, so we're not sure what's happening. So let's just check here. Let's see if maybe one of these others aren't working. Okay, so it is calling move. And notice it's calling move a bunch of times, but it doesn't seem to keep moving it. So there's something a little bit off there. And this is why I say code small. Because if we plumbed it all up, put it all together, it could be a big mess right here. That'd be changing it in 4 or 5 or 6 different places. And notice that the move and the warning, they're not working together real well. The move seems to replace the warning. It's not happening at all. Well, I guess we can't put both these on there, but it's okay because it's not necessarily what we want to have happen. Anyway, we want the cat to have a warning, and then we want the cat to move from there. So, what if our top buffer was instead of one item, let's say it was two items. So this is where it becomes a little bit tough to get motivated to change your code. But let's say top buffer W and top buffer, oops, W and top buffer M. So the orange is going to be the warning and M is going to be the move. Um, so now, well, this becomes tough because now my grid is shifting around a whole lot. Um, so top buffer W is there. Top buffer M is row one, and that means bottom the cat should then move to row two. And if I'm going to do the same thing, okay, so I'm going to do this, but I'm going to kind of leave this for a moment. So I'm kind of like shifting everything down one, right? And I have a lot of management to go on. It's not the end of the world. It feels like it's tough, but it's not the end of the world. But now you can see I've got a top buffer and a bottom buffer, and I'm sorry, my buffers aren't there because there's no top buffer here. But let me tell the warning should be top buffer W, and let's do top buffer M dot bind. The motion is the move, right? So okay, well that is doing okay. So we get the warning here. But then we have this other bar that's separated. So it's not quite there yet. We have something to sort out. We will sort it out. But I want to point something out here. This is just forward looking. So again, we're closer to where we want to be. And the bar did seem to move down. Let's run that one more time just to see what's happening. So it's, well, okay. So the cat's way down there. And so I do have this warning here. And then when I get down here, the cat moves, but the cat jumps back up at that point. So there's a couple things that I need to sort out. So one of them is, I don't want a huge buffer, so let's make this buffer over 2 and buffer over 2. We're going to split the buffer right there. So let's fix that real quick. But then why is there this big gap here, right? So I have, okay, well, this is a case where when you change stuff, you can say to myself, okay, well, maybe I don't need to deal with the whole canvas. I mean, the whole grid, excuse me. Maybe what I want is I want top buffer to be a frame, which is in the buffer. And top buffer here, W and M, I can put those inside of top buffer. And then instead of having to figure that out, I can leave top buffer where it was in the grid. And then maybe what I can do here is put these two in a grid themselves, right? And this is where a little bit of forethought and planning goes a long way. That's why you would be working on a drawing of this ahead of time, which I sort of kind of did, but tried to skip by it. And so that little bit of planning can help quite a bit. So if I put a frame, which is the top buffer, and then I have the warning and the move, and I put those inside of the top frame, and then I take the top buffer itself and I put it in the grid, and then I bind the motion. Let's see what this looks like now. Ah, much better here. So these are right next to each other. So I have the warning and then the move. Well, it moved the cat, but did something funny in the cat. So I still have a little bit of some motion problems, but the nice thing here is I've sorted out a little bit where I can now separate out those two different ranges. And most importantly, when I run this, let me actually take this out because we can see it now. I can see my cat goes worried, and even when I go to moving, it stays worried until I go back to the green room. So that's again incremental, tiny little success. That's all we really need to worry about at any given point is inching towards daylight, getting closer and closer. Figure out which bug we want to fix, and then go from there. And I wanted to make this one work. So now I do want to figure out the move. So when I come up here, when I move, why does it jump to that spot and not keep moving? And that's what we're going to look at next. But make sure you get your cat and your buffer working, and then we'll go figure out why it's not moving.